In the infinite randomness of the cosmos, there are moments when the universe itself seems to pause, moments so profound that they send shock waves through the deepest corners of the scientific community. Such a moment arrived recently, when an anomaly, geometric, intelligent-looking, disturbingly deliberate, was captured, not by chance, but by a machine that humanity launched decades ago. This anomaly wasn't some accidental artifact of space. It was recorded by a probe powered by plutonium, built by engineers of the 1970s, and guided by commands typed into computers older than most of today's scientists. But how is it possible that this ancient machine, older than the modern internet itself, has now become the messenger of something that may not be natural at all? Was Voyager 2 followed on its long journey? Did it cross into a region of the cosmos where the laws of physics themselves behave differently? Or, in the most unsettling of possibilities, has it stumbled upon something that was never meant to be seen? The data suggest that this is no coincidence. It feels like a warning, a message signed not with ink, but in mathematics, woven into light, encoded in the final frames of Voyager 2's journey. And if you think the universe is empty, think again. Something, or someone, may be out there, and they have answered in a language that transcends words. The message. When Voyager 2 launched in 1977, it carried with it humanity's most optimistic and poetic gesture, a golden disc. On this disc were etched greetings in dozens of languages, the music of Earth, sounds of waves and wind, and even the laughter of humans. It was a time capsule aimed at whoever or whatever might find it, a universal postcard declaring, "We were here. We exist." That was the message, or so we thought. But now, nearly 50 years later, what Voyager 2 has returned with suggests something infinitely more chilling, a reply. The image retrieved from Voyager's final data burst wasn't supposed to be possible. Not with its failing cameras, not at this distance, not after decades of harsh radiation and cold. And yet, when the data were analyzed using a quantum AI system designed to scan for patterns invisible to the human eye, it revealed something extraordinary. A structure emerged. It was not a star, not a planet, not interstellar dust or plasma, but something that appeared engineered, a lattice. This lattice was precise, symmetrical, and persistent across multiple frames. It radiated a kind of order that defies the randomness of natural cosmic phenomena, whispering of deliberate design. But here's what unsettled the scientists most. This structure remained fixed in its relative position to the spacecraft. It wasn't drifting like dust or moving like a comet. It stayed there, as if orbiting Voyager 2, or worse, as if tracking it. The reply. Scientists at NASA scrambled to find a rational explanation. Hardware failure was the first suspect. But it was quickly ruled out because the anomaly wasn't limited to a single camera or sensor. It was present across multiple instruments, layered through different wavelengths and time intervals. This was not a glitch, it was something real. When the structure was mapped, it revealed a pattern that sent chills down the spines of even the most skeptical scientists. The lattice showed repeating Fibonacci ratios and prime number spacings, mathematical patterns that do not naturally occur in random formations. One physicist described it as the universe winking at us with code. But here's the haunting part. Structures like this don't exist in deep space. Not naturally. That wasn't the only strange behavior. When Voyager's sensors actively scanned the anomaly, the structure changed slightly, as if responding to the observation. This behavior is reminiscent of the observer effect in quantum mechanics, where particles behave differently when they are observed. But this was not happening at the atomic scale. This was happening on a kilometer-wide scale. How can a structure react to being observed unless it is aware? And if it is aware, it might not be natural. It might be artificial. Or worse, it might be alive. An unsettling truth. To even begin to understand what Voyager 2 might have encountered, we must accept an unsettling truth. The edge of our solar system isn't just a simple boundary of particles and plasma. It is a transition zone, a region where the very fabric of space begins to mutate. According to some quantum gravity theorists, space-time beyond the heliopause, the boundary where the solar wind meets interstellar space, could allow phenomena we've never modeled. Think of it as the cosmic twilight zone, a place where the rules written in Einstein's language begin to blur, bend, and morph into strange quantum dialects. The structure captured in Voyager's image fits no known model of interstellar matter. It reflects no light in the traditional sense, but it does absorb specific frequencies. It casts no shadow but disrupts magnetic fields around it. In fact, some researchers argue that it might not even exist within our familiar three-dimensional space. It might not be part of our dimension at all. Some have suggested that what Voyager saw could be a projection, a higher dimensional object intersecting with our universe, like a four-dimensional shape casting a three-dimensional shadow. In simpler terms, this could be a shadow from another universe, a foreign geometry bleeding into ours. And now, it appears to be following a machine we built in the 1970s with technology less advanced than a modern smartphone. Transmission patterns. But the strangeness doesn't end with the shape of the object. When the quantum AI parsed the data from Voyager, it uncovered something buried deep within the anomaly's transmission patterns, sequences. Not just any sequences, but prime numbers, Fibonacci spirals, and geometric symmetries. These sequences mirrored the exact mathematical language we encoded on the Voyager Golden Record decades ago. It was as if something out there not only received our message, but understood it, and replied in the same language we sent, a cosmic conversation written in mathematics. Here's the terrifying twist. The response wasn't just similar. It was mirroring. It was as if something out there had been waiting for us to evolve, to become intelligent enough to hear its reply. Not decades ago, not even 5 years ago, but now. At this moment. Secrecy and containment. While the public was given vague statements about unusual data artifacts, something far more serious was happening behind NASA's sealed conference room doors. Leaked internal emails revealed that top-level scientists were instructed not to speak to the press about the image or the mirrored patterns it contained. Voyager's data streams were rerouted. They were mirrored into private quantum computing labs, encrypted at levels usually reserved for military secrets. Why? Because the implications were too destabilizing, not just for physics, but for geopolitics, religion, and science itself. One anonymous systems engineer described the internal atmosphere as identical to a Cold War alert. Not from fear of destruction, but from fear of contact. Because if Voyager's image was truly a response, then the experiment was over. We sent a message into the void, and something replied. And now, it is too late to take it back. The scientific community divides. As the news trickled through unofficial channels, the scientific community began to split into factions. On one side were the traditionalists, who insisted the structure could be explained by some previously unknown interstellar dust formation or lensing effect. On the other side were the radical thinkers, physicists and quantum field theorists, who believed this could not be natural. Several papers were uploaded to R14, ARSA, that claimed the data matched predicted behaviors of artificially generated quantum fields. In layman's terms, these fields would be manipulated by design, not by nature. These researchers proposed that Voyager had entered a controlled region of space, where information itself could be shaped, redirected, or even encoded visually. One physicist compared the image to a glyph, something between a symbol and a command. And then came the unthinkable suggestion. What if this was more than a reply? What if it was an invitation? What if it's an invitation? Voyager's magnetometers, which had been operating far beyond their expected lifespan, began to show data that defied normal explanation. The local magnetic field near the object began to pulse, not randomly, but in timed intervals. Regular, predictable, like a beacon, like a heartbeat. These pulses could not be linked to solar activity or galactic turbulence. Even more unsettling, the intervals between each pulse formed a Fibonacci progression, the same mathematical signature detected visually in the object structure. For decades, humanity has searched for signs of alien life in radio waves and atmospheric data from exoplanets. But what Voyager 2 might have found is something far more advanced, a civilization, or perhaps a force, that manipulates the very environment around it. This is not the type of signal that comes from broken technology or dead civilizations. This is a pattern, carefully constructed, meant to be recognized only by intelligence. And now, we have recognized it. What if it's a reflection? As analysis deepened, an even darker theory began to surface, not in public journals, but in private meetings among physicists, AI theorists, and signal analysts. What if Voyager's image wasn't of an object at all? What if it was a reflection? Not metaphorically, but literally, a dynamic, responsive distortion in space itself, like a mirror turning toward us the moment we looked too deeply. Some suggested that Voyager hadn't simply captured something new, but had triggered something dormant, a mechanism, a field, perhaps even a sentient surveillance system lying in wait, invisible until one of our machines finally breached the correct boundary. This would mean we are not just explorers anymore. We are the observed. The final threshold. For nearly half a century, Voyager 2 drifted silently through the void, carrying with it the hopes and curiosity of a young species, too young to understand the full implications of what it was truly asking. We embedded our music, our mathematics, our heartbeat into a disk of gold and flung it into the unknown, believing that maybe, someday, someone would find it. But deep down, we never really believed they would answer. Until now. The final image Voyager 2 captured isn't just a picture. It's a rupture, a quiet tear in our understanding of what lies beyond. A geometric echo of our own logic, reflected back at us in